Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Learning Torah Lishma. One of the hardest things, someone that's older, 30, 40 and above, already 30, you start forgetting what it means to be someone young. By 40, you completely forgot. You're thinking in a completely different way. And, sometimes we just can't understand, why can't I be effective to this young person? I threaten him about how God's going to kill him if he leaves Judaism. I tell him about hell. I tell him about sickness. I tell him about poverty. And it really is not effective to him. To someone that, in their late 30s, 40s especially, once they hit 40, the fact that you could become sick starts to actually be part of a reason why you won't go against God. When you're younger, you don't really have that reason, because life is just rushing through your veins. It's just, life is so strong in you. When you're 18, 15, 25, life is in every vein in your body. You understand? So all these things, the way the older person's thinking, the young person, he's unaffected by those. It's good to hear, you understand, in a proper way, but that should mean be the main way to affect someone. It's certainly not going to do that. It will hardly affect them, if anything, because that's the world you live in as an older person, that those things are surrounding you. But me as a young person, it's nowhere near me, you understand? And even if a young person does get sick, they heal so quickly. The mind the mind works differently. It's not afraid like someone that's older, you understand? There's a freeness there. There's that youthfulness. So people don't understand this, and they can't understand, why am I so ineffective? And the reason is what we just said. How do you cause people that are young to go in the good path? So you're going to say, when you get older, then it's going to be that. Pretty schwach. I wouldn't give you an A for that. I wouldn't even give you a B. You understand? It's pretty schwach. You got to figure out the person to who they are right now. I'm going to tell you a story which will give us a little Pesach, a little opening into the understanding of young people. People that are 30 and younger, before 30. From 30 to 40, it trickles out, especially someone 20 or younger. Right? There's a certain age when they're so young that they're still developing, you understand? The free will didn't fully kick in. This is going back many years ago, before I was 20. Some people look at me like, oh, you're 20, right? Before I was 20. That was a little while ago. I met this Hasidic Bacher, and I got into a conversation, but I could see from looking at him that he was starting to go off the derech. It was in the very beginning stages. And, that's the best stage to catch someone. First of all, it's easier for them to turn around because they didn't do something yet. They didn't stop keeping the mitzvahs yet. They're in the very beginning stages. It usually plays out in the way they dress in the beginning, in the very, very beginning stages. Now, okay, let's get back to this. I wanted to go on a bit of a tangent and come back, but we're going to continue. So, the best way to help someone to be a good person, to listen to God, you understand? To be connected to God is, first of all, you got to really care about them. You could fake, the movements of someone that cares perfectly. But Hashem gave something to a person. It's called a sense, and you could sense if the person's authentic or not. The first thing you got to do is you got to really care about other people. In fact, if you don't care about people, there's something spiritually, seriously wrong there. You got to care about people. Even if sometimes you have to do something, you still got to care. You understand? If this person is about to take a machine gun and shoot people, you have to kill him. Right? Because he's going to hurt those people. But of course, you feel bad that you have to do that, but it's something you have to do. Because you can't allow him to just shoot people, you understand? It's like some story in the news that some guy just walked around with a machine gun in New York. Like, of all places, like New York, they see a guy with a gun, they shoot him, if he's not a police officer. And he's walking around with this huge gun, and he just goes in and shoots people. Unbelievable. Shocking. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some people there that maybe had a gun, but they were afraid to shoot him because they would go to jail. New York, right? New York City. It needs a refuah shalema. So I met this boy. He was a young. He might have been slightly older than me, maybe by a year or two, maybe my same age. But it was before my 20s. And I see my senses telling me that he's in the beginning stages of going off the derech, unfortunately. And I could also see it, in how he dresses. He, instead of wearing black shoes, he was wearing brown shoes. Now, there's certain types, for a chassid, that's a sign. But let's say someone who is Litvish, that might not be a sign, But for someone that's a chassid, that's already a sign. If a chassid, for a chassid, that's already a sign. If you're looking for a physical sign. So I had a sense, and I saw something physical. And I got into conversation with him. He was a nice boy. And, it really hurts you. Sometimes a person's not a nice person. You still want to help them, obviously. But here it's a nice boy. It hurts extra. And so I'm speaking to him, and very quickly I understood what I need to say. If there's anything that's going to affect him, it's this. But at the same time, you don't just say it outright. The point is, you don't want to give him the sense that you're not equals. Because people want to hang out with friends. They don't want to hang out with rabbis and teachers. You understand? And even though I see that he's starting to go off, and theoretically a person could start thinking that they're better, I don't think that way, because who am I to judge his circumstance? I'm always looking at him as an equal. But he might not see it that way if I directly point that out. And he was actually talking about, he was actually, when I got into conversation with him, and he actually himself brought it up, how he's slowly starting to go off, and soon he wants to get, this type of pants, and, it started with the shoes, then he wants to get this pants, you understand? So he actually said that to me. So once he said that, so now I knew I could bring in on a side note, this. And this is what I told him. I said to him, you're such a handsome, nice boy. I'm sure you're going to get a gorgeous, beautiful, sweet girl. I really want that for you. Do you really want to leave? Don't you want that? A beautiful girl, a nice girl, sweet girl, right? The best girls are Jewish girls. You understand? The best boys are Jewish boys. Every girl should be able to get a wonderful boy, and every boy should be able to get a wonderful girl. You understand? There's so many laws just about gossip, just about how to treat people. There's so much laws in that area. There's many laws. And there's a tremendous amount of laws when it comes to treating people in a good way. There's many laws. It's not an option. Physically, you could treat a person in a bad way, but there's a law telling you can't do that. There's a law from God telling you can't do that. So they're brought up to keep the 613 laws and the 7 derabbanans and certain minhagim that different groups have. They're brought up to keep that. These people are light years from other people who say, the fulfillment is in Yashka, is in Jesus. The fulfillment is in Muhammad. The fulfillment is in the New Testament. The fulfillment is in the Quran. The Old Testament, what it says there, that's not your fulfillment. They erase it all, or most of it. And then you'll have some Christian that will say, no, we do keep certain types of laws. They don't even know the laws to be able to keep it. Such nonsense. And you just see the falsehood. They don't have a whole sefer like the Chafetz Chaim on the intricacies of Lashon Hara. It doesn't exist by them. So even with some of them are claiming that those type of laws they keep, they don't even know that it exists, most of them, and they don't have any intricacies, nothing, very shallow, and they don't even have the full list. Coming up with it now doesn't really help. You have to have that to begin with, you understand? A Jewish girl, a Jewish boys, they're so special. They're so special. And when I told him, you know, I'm looking for you to marry a gorgeous girl, a nice, gorgeous girl. When I said that to him, it hit him in his heart, in his kishkas, in his being. I didn't say those shallow other things, that negativity. Even this thing, you have like Rosh Hashivas that will say to someone, like, I just see that, if you're not in the yeshiva, you're not going to get married. You understand? They cause the problem that you can't get married, and then they threaten you. Then they tell you that you won't get married, but you're the one that caused that I won't get married, because you're sitting and teaching this ideology of full-time learning. You understand? Such nonsense. These people, how they play, they speak so innocently when they're the cause of the problem. It's such it's so devious. That's all I can say. So devious. I'm not the cause. It's that person that's causing it. I'm just doing this. That's what you're saying. You're saying to do this. That's the whole yeshiva, what it's saying people should do. You're part of it. Pushing it on. No, it's that gadol that's saying it. Gadol. I speak it to real gedalim. They're very up to balance. I've seen them say it out straight. I don't know why there's these extreme shitas. Why can't it just be normal? You understand? I've heard it. I don't want to say the names because, I don't want to. In today's days, they could actually get hurt because of it. I don't want to be if they want to come out and say it in public, which they should, and just say it to everybody, scream, just keep saying it, in a kind of nice way. If you need to scream it out, scream it out. That's what they should be doing. But I'm not going to do that, because I understand how they could be damaged. Yeah, so I'll just let people come at me, I'll be God's buffer. I'll be the rabbi's buffer. So I saw how that it went to his kishkas, because he understands that there's a big difference between a frum Jewish girl, even someone that isn't so frum, but they're traditional. There's a big difference. In general, there's a big difference. And I saw that there was a twinkle in his eyes. I saw that it changed him. And he turned around. Baruch Hashem was at a very early stage, so nothing serious happened yet. We have to start caring about people, especially good people. We have to learn how to think in a positive way, not to just bring everything out in a morbid, negative way. We have to understand a person according to who they are. For a young person, there's one way you speak. For someone that's older, there's a different way that you speak. There's a different way that they're affected. You can't forget the differences. You got to understand the differences, respect them, and utilize that wisdom to help people. You know, the first person you have to help is yourself. If you're a mess, very hard to affect other people. You understand? Getting back, yeah, people that are very young, when they turn marriageable age, having a good wife, having a good husband, it means a lot to them. In fact, in many scenarios, it means more to them than, someone older. They'll say, oh, and I saw this like, what do you call? Should we say it? Okay, we'll say it. A Rebbe in Gullus. What's a Rebbe in Gullus? A Rebbe, the person that considers himself a Rebbe but has no Hasidim, doesn't have a shul, nothing, you understand? So a Rebbe in Gullus, so I met one of these Rebbes in Gullus. I know him for many years when I was living in Eretz Yisrael, and so I actually know two Rebbes in Gullus. They were both in the same base medrash. They both, one was a Kohen, one of the Rebbes was a Kohen, and they both were a Rebbe in Gullus. A Rebbe with, someone who's from Rebbish lineage, but he considers himself to be a Rebbe, but, he doesn't have a shul, he doesn't have Hasidim really, understand? So this one that was a Kohen, I used to go, into Lifta, and we used to give food to the, people that live in Lifta over there in the valley, Lifta, next to Gesher Meitarim. And, I would go with him and help him, with carrying the stuff and bringing his food for them. And these are people, some of them on drugs, some of them not. People, and they live in these old houses, these abandoned houses, from, I don't know, from before there was electric in houses in Eretz Yisrael. There's all these abandoned houses. Very interesting. We could go into all that. If you go into the cellars, it's cold because it's in the ground, and that's how you don't need a refrigerator. In the summer, you go there and it's very cold, and underneath, because it's very interesting. It's the cellars. You literally see the Mishnah come to life. So I would go with him, and he would sing for them and tell them stories, and talk to them about good character, talk to them about God, and very, very interesting. So that was one type of Rebbe in Gullus. Then there was this other one who, so this first, let's go back to the first one. So he got married, he was married, he has kids. Unfortunately, his wife, was nifter, and now he sort of drifts from living in one rich guy's house to the next, helping him with his kids, but he doesn't have his own house. He's a real Rebbe in Gullus, the real deal. And then there's the second Rebbe in Gullus. So Yeah. And he likes to make kids. uh, he was actually divorced from his first wife. After that, I don't, he was just he decided he's a rabbi. He could just marry, even though it's the Chem Rabbeinu Gershom. By him, it's fine to just marry another wife, and he just wants to have kids, wants to populate, which I'm all for population, but so but there's the correct way of doing it, obviously. Uh, you know, uh, not giving a get when she wants it. It's the correct way of doing things. Not doing that. And so he's already old. I don't know when I met him. I don't know. He's probably in his late 60s, early 70s. So he was, there's a place in Eretz Yisrael where, there's a boys' place, there's a girls' place, but I'm guessing there's a boys' place as well. But he just talked about this girls' place where these girls that, let's say, are born with Down syndrome, missing a hand or missing a leg, or chas v'shalom, just things that are a bit scary to talk about. And he was like, he went to this first Rebbe in Gullus that I talked about, and he told him, I'm going to pay you this if you could go to that place and get me. The main thing is a girl that could bear a child. I heard the conversation. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. So when a person's older, they're much more okay with things, with different issues, than when they're younger. You understand? The person who's younger a young person is really taking it seriously. That's why the system, remember, whoever controls the young generation, the young people, controls that nation, controls that religion. So making it look like it's a pagam, the fact that this person isn't in Brisk, in Mir, in BMG, learning full time, and you understand, making that look that if he's not doing that, if he's working and learning, if he's balanced, you understand, right? There's many forms of learning, there's many forms of working, right? There's giving shiurim, listening to shiurim, going to shiurim. There's different things. Different people find different things fulfilling. You understand? When it comes to the learning arena, when it comes to the working arena, different people, they find different things. It's a person, he just likes mechanic. It's a person, he likes wood, working with wood. It's a person that they just like psychology. They could be a good psychologist, help people in that way. So in work, there are different things. You understand? A person has to figure out themselves. They have to learn themselves, know themselves. Instead of looking at a balanced person, that's what I'm looking for, the system says that you're supposed to be wanting this extreme ideology, what they consider to be a level of the Rashbi or Bikiva, which is like a Makubal from like 1,000 years ago. And for someone that's 50, they could see through that falsehood much easier. Someone that's 50, not married, 40, not married, they could see through that falsehood much easier. But someone that's, 18, 22, 25, it's not so easy, especially for the women. It's not easy for the boys, but the boys seem to be able to see the truth quicker. The girls much, much harder, because to them covered, the status is extremely important. To a boy, it's less important. And they make them think that if you want to find a good boy, it's coming out of BMG. It's coming out of this guy that's learning full time. It's coming out of Brisk. It's coming out of the Mir. V'chule, v'chule, v'chule. And to someone that's very young, they take it very seriously. Marriage, they take much more serious than someone that's older. And since this is pushed out to them constantly, it's in the atmosphere, it's talked about constantly, to them, they think that it's in the list of importance. It's either the first thing of importance, maybe the second, in the best case scenario, the third. You understand? Probably the first, maybe the second. In a miracle, maybe it's the third. You understand? So they don't realize that it's really of no importance. In fact, balance is what's important. A balanced, good person is what's important. And because of that, they control the youth, because the girl says, if I want that boy, I got to kiss up to that rabbi, to that rebbitzin, to that rebbe, to that chacham, to that Rosh Hashiva. I got to... And though that the boy says, if I want that girl, they don't realize that they're being played. They're being played. If they would start working, then a lot of the brainwash would go away. A lot of the incorrect ideology would go away, because they're working. Now they're becoming a person that could take care of themselves, and they start to see the cracks, the falsehood, and they start to see the emes of the Torah. If they have someone that's, if they're listening to this show, they get to hear the emes of the actual Torah. If they're not, if people double down on the falsehood, then that could be, that causes a disaster, because they're making them think that something that isn't Torah is Torah, and therefore that's how they say, well, if that's the case, this is so wrong. Especially when you're working, you could see the falsehood in this, and it just comes when you're working. You just see the falsehood. You could sense it so clearly. But you were never taught the truth of the Torah, unless you're listening to this shir, and they start drifting away from the Torah. So then, what do these rabbis and rebbitzins say? Well, you see, if someone goes to work, he goes off the derech. So they're the cause of it all. They're controlling the girl, making her think that they have to kiss up and do what they say in order to get the boy. And the boy's saying, we better kiss up and do exactly what they say in order to get the girl. And then, when someone works, they're like, how do they... Because that's a danger to them. Because someone who works, the working really opens up the mind to see truth. And it just shows the falsehood of this ideology. And so how do they do that? they double down. They're like, okay, if you have to, if you're a nebuch, basically, okay, but that's not the real thing. That's not really Judaism. Judaism is learning full time. That's like, people that can't keep Judaism to the best, So then Judaism, as they work, being Jewish is putting them down. And you'll have that your own mother, your own grandmother, your own father, your own, you understand, your own grandfather, your own brother or sister, your own rabbi, your own rebbitzin, rebbe, or shiva chacham, they'll say that to you. Okay, if you can't, as if you're a lower level Jew. So who wants to live in that, right? Who wants to be, and the shurim are always pumping, learning, and you just feel like you're a nebuch. And really, you're the greatest. Balance is the greatest thing. It's the biggest lesson in the Torah. It's the foundation of the whole Torah, is teaching a person balance. According to who you are. Learning how to maximize yourself. Not be someone else. Maximize yourself. That's what the Torah is there. It's to maximize you in being a good person, in being healthy, in keeping Shabbos and Yom Tovs. You understand? It's there to maximize you in a physical, in a spiritual way, in this world, in the next, to maximize you. That's what it's there for. To maximize you. Not to maximize someone else, and that's what you're supposed to be. No wonder so many people go off the derech. It's so confusing. What does that even mean? It's like I don't exist. He exists. I don't exist. Okay, if I don't exist, I can do whatever I want, right? It's such nonsense. So the person is working and they're draining all his simchas hachayim. According to them, there's something wrong there. You understand? And really there isn't, but they're saying that there is, and they're saying that's what Judaism is saying. And for that reason, the person drifts away from Judaism. So I come here, forget about them. You understand? I come here, and I come to tell you that you are the greatest person. You are what the Torah is talking about. A person who could go to the workplace, take care of himself, take care of his spouse, take care of his kids, take care of other people, and keep the commandments, and be a good person, to be loyal, faithful, kindness. You are what the Torah considers an Adam Hashalem, a complete person, a real person. Not someone that's a holy child, but someone that's a holy adult. That's what you need to know. And you should never, for a second, think that you're second place. You're first place, and every yid's first place. That's it. Even those people that are pushing forward an extreme ideology, or people that think that ideology is correct, even they're also first. We don't want to be like them, saying we're first, my type is first, not that type. No. They're also first. They're making a mistake in that area. It doesn't mean that they're not first. In other areas, they're amazing. But at the same time, they're making that mistake, and I can't learn from it. But they're also first. It might not be good for me to hang around them because that sheker, that falsehood is very contagious. But I see the good things that they're doing. You understand? I see that. And they're also first. I'm just going to keep around people that are healthy first people. People that are not yet healthy first. They're first people, but they're not so healthy. When someone has this ideology, which is saying that a man shouldn't be working, just learning Torah all the time, and he shouldn't be working, that's just so unhealthy. I can't be around it. But they're first. Don't worry, I can't be around it. We have to when I see the Nakuda that's going to be the breaker out of this horror movie that Judaism is going through right now, the Nakuda that's going to break it, it's going to set Yiddishkeit free. It's going to fix up all of the wrong that has been done. This whole wrong ideology, the Nakuda that will cause that is coffee dating. And not, just meet the person, get to know them. To a certain extent, you're taking it fast. As a Jew, you can't go on 5 years dating someone, you understand? But at the same time that you have to go fast, you're also going slow. After 3 months, you should know. Max 6 months. Really, within the first month, you know already. Meet people. If you met people, then you would say, okay, you wouldn't marry someone because you have no choice. You would say, this isn't good for me. You're a good person, I'm a good person, but we're just not a good fit together. And you would find a person that you're a good fit with. It's a big problem today. There's a whole bunch of good people, but because the system doesn't focus on who you're really fit for, people that are not fit for each other are getting married. You have a fighter getting married with someone that's not a fighter. You understand? You have someone that's negative getting married with someone that's positive. Not a good thing. I just want to say in all truth what coffee dating. First of all, there's the simple understanding, that your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your good friend suggest they say, I met this boy, he seems, my sense is telling me that you'll be a good fit, but, I'm not you. Meet the person and, see if you're good together. You just meet, then you just go and meet, you understand? You don't start asking hundreds of questions. When you ask questions, that makes people not want to help you. They don't want questions. They just want to, Hashem gave them this, an ability of sense. There's something called the sense that we all have. Some of us, some people ruin their ability of sense, but we do have this ability of sense, and sometimes we just sense it. That's how Hashem, because we're not prophets, you understand? We don't have Ruach HaKodesh, but Hashem wants to get his message out. How does he do that? using a person's sense. You just sense that, you say, I just sense that you would be good together, but I'm not a prophet, so meet. And you just meet. Don't sit and ask them, I want the name, I want the age, I want this, I want that. You understand? Meet. A From Yid suggests something. Meet. That's how we're going to fix it, because once being able to get married is going to stop being so difficult, then what we just talked about, how they're controlling you through marriage, will fade away. And the real tzaddikim, the real righteous people, will surface, and all these fake righteous people will fall away. A lot of these fake righteous people will then become real righteous people. You understand? With us doing this, with us going in this way, with us being positive, I do want to mention one more thing. At the same time that there's someone suggesting, there's also nothing wrong with a boy. He sees this nice girl and he asks, you know what, I really want to take you out. There's nothing wrong with that. You understand? There's nothing wrong. At least there shouldn't be anything wrong. I understand the system might make you think there's something wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, Tu B'Av encourages that. Tu B'Av is taking things to even a bigger extreme. You understand? But certainly approaching someone and saying you're interested, and you want to see if maybe you could go out together and see if you're mutually interested in each other. You understand? There's nothing wrong with that. A girl shouldn't be opposed to that. A boy shouldn't think it's wrong to go over to a girl. And today, because it's just it's so bad, I would say even a girl shouldn't be opposed to saying that to a boy. Even though naturally the way it is that a man goes over to a woman, but I think it's also okay for a woman to go over to a man. And there's also another way you could do it. You could do it through somebody else, someone that, your friend. You could tell them to go over and tell this person, you understand, that you're interested, and let them know if it's mutual, if you want to see, you want to meet and see if this is really, good for both of you. You understand? I'm going to say something scary, but something that I experienced. I was in Eretz Yisrael. I was learning in the Mir. I was learning by Rav Asher Arieli. And in the Mir, it's not like here in America. In America, the yeshiva has to give dorms. Meaning, if you don't have dorms for the Bachrim, you don't have a yeshiva. So the yeshiva make sure to have dorms. If they want Bachrim in the yeshiva, the more beds they have, the more Bachrim they can have. If they don't have a bed, they can't have the Bachrim. You understand? Once you get to Yeshiva Gedela, right, that's how it works. Or Yeshiva Katana, depending on, you understand? But for sure Yeshiva Gedela, even practically in Yeshiva Katana. However, in Eretz Yisrael, once you get to, Mesivta, Yeshiva Gedela, since Eretz Yisrael, the whole world has come, all the Jewish boys in the whole world are like coming to it. So they, they don't feel the need to have a bed for each boy. And what happens there is uh, you sort of it's not easy to get a bed in the yeshiva, and many boys they have to the whole time that they're in Mir and Brisk, or you understand, they're renting this dorm together with other Bachrim. Sometimes it's other Bachrim, sometimes it's with other people, working boys, nanachs, people on drugs. It can sometimes be interesting. You have like the yeshiva dorms, then you have like people that are like, that they're calling this the yeshiva dorm, but it's really not under the yeshiva. And then there's like, all this stuff. So I was in one of these dorms, and we had a nanach be there. He stole someone's money. Had like these candles. He would sit in the middle of them. I don't know. Selling drugs to people. I don't know. Who knows? And there was these other Bachrim from the Mir also that were learning there. We had a divorced guy that once he got divorced, the Kollel said they're not going to give him money because he's not married anymore. So he became a Bachar again. Someone that's divorced, you understand? It's a different headspace, but they're treating him like a Bachar that was never married. You understand? He sit and found this one Kollel that would actually give him money, pay him for learning there. I mean, even a Bachar, when it comes to a certain age, you should start paying him, meaning whether or not he's married. At a certain age, people stop taking care of you. You understand? And the yeshiva, you understand? So if they're learning there, you should definitely you shouldn't be taking money for them. If anything, you should be giving them money. That's not what happens. They're always trying to figure out how to get out of giving money and figure out how to take, unfortunately. So some of the Bachrim there were these young guys, again, very young boys, 18, 22, something like that. And they were working. One of these guys, was a bit more heavy set, one was skinny, one was, different, just regular guys. And, I'm just like, I care about people. And because I actually care about people, maybe not always do I say the right words, but I do care about people. I try to say the right words. And people sense that. So I have it that people just start talking to me, and I listen to them, and I wasn't even expecting it. Like, these people out of nowhere, I got into conversation with them, and they were like, they started like, they were getting really personal. They were like telling me, I don't know, what was that like, young 20-year-old, they're telling me about how they're taking drugs because they're so depressed. And they're telling me that, and you understand that it's Hashem, I just try to, Hashem, just give me the right words, they're telling you this, so, they obviously, they want to be helped. Help me help them. Why else are they telling me this? So Hashem gave me this amazing thing to say. This is what I told him. I said, I understand you're going through a hard time. And they were saying, like, when they're married, they'll stop. But just, not being married, and they can't live with themselves. If they're married, then they'll be fine. You understand? Which is, to a big extent, true. It really is true. The problem is that what they're doing is addictive. They're literally taking drugs, which a lot of these drugs, it's one time you take it and you're fully addicted from one time. You understand? Certainly after a few times. It's not like cigarettes that it takes a bit of a while. This is like, you understand? We'll get to this aspect of that they're telling me because they're not married. We're going to get to what's happening there, but this is what they're telling me, and I'm understanding that I'm feeling their pain, but I understand that like if you're gonna let this steam out in a way, you can't do it this way because you get addicted. This is stuff that any second now, any day, you're going to become fully addicted to. If not, you're already fully addicted. And I don't know how long they've been taking it. You understand? So I tell them to this. I told them, you can't wait until you're married, to become that full human being. You got to do it even before you're married. I understand it's difficult. I understand we're going to get into that in a moment. I understand there's all this pain, but you have to learn how to deal with it. You have to become that person that you're thinking of after you'll be married. You have to become that before, at least to the biggest extent that you can, and certainly not do something that these drugs that you're taking, it's something that any day now you're going to become completely addicted to. Trying to when you're going to have to break away from them. Most people, they never break away, but when you're going to have to break away from them, and hopefully you'll have the strength to, hopefully you don't get addicted, but if someone's addicted and they're trying to break away, the pain that they go through. I talked to someone that broke away from these drugs. He said he felt the pain of death for a very long time until it went away. You understand? It's not simple. You have to go through the pain of death for weeks in order to break out of it. You understand? That's the best I could have done. So, I know there's people that are smarter, they could come up with better things, but in my situation, I was this very young person. You understand? This is what I told them. Later on, I spoke to someone else, a young guy, very full of life, and he went to, go work. He was originally from America. He went to Israel, he just loved Eretz Yisrael, and he was working in Eretz Yisrael. Very young boy, probably just 18, you understand? Maybe 17, 16. He was working in sales, and he was describing to me the workplace. This is a frum workplace, you understand? And this is what he described to me. This guy is a very, jolly, happy guy. So, which he is, I don't know, he's taking something. I don't know how they put it into their body through smoking or injecting, whatever it is. I'm guessing it's smoking. But he is a person that's, this jolly guy, everybody wants to, a very charismatic person. Everybody would, loves to just hear him speak because he's just so, funny and charismatic. And he is telling me that he's sometimes smoking stuff, taking stuff, whatever. I think it was some type of smoking something. And this is a person who you would think wouldn't need it because he's such a happy person. But for some reason, even he is smoking sometimes. And you know, it's X amount of times until you're fully addicted, you understand? If cigarettes someone could get fully addicted to, certainly these things. So he was talking to me, and he just, he's telling me, when someone's young, they're not afraid so much to talk about, what's happening. They feel invincible. It's easier to help them because they'll just, you're not even trying to help them, and they tell you, they lead you right into the conversation that now you could help them, even though you didn't even know they had this issue. You thought everything was fine, you understand? Young people, such a machaya. Such a machaya to deal with young people. So he just he's saying everything, but in such a funny way, just he's explaining the situation, but it's very funny, his movements, the way he's a funny guy. So he's telling me he's doing sales, and he's telling me that you get trained into sales, and it's always that girls are better at sales. A young girl picks up, I'm not sure, they have these charity places that, I don't know, the people that call you for money, they just sound really old, people, they want a young girl on the other end, in second place, they'll take a young guy, that's what they want to hear, a young voice. They don't want to hear someone that's like a I don't know, a 70-year-old voice, a 40-year-old voice. They want to hear young people, So he's telling me how girls, there's always there's always this percent that they automatically do better. So I'm listening to him. I'm understanding what he's saying. I didn't really think of these things because I'm just learning Gemara. You understand? I didn't really think of these differences, but he pointed out. I'm listening. Oh, I was like, he's right what he's saying. Now that I have a phone, I used to not have a phone. Now you start getting all these stalker calls, and you have these people like, oh my goodness, is this like a great grandmother calling me? She should be like, spending time with her family. What is she over here working for these organizations, calling for money? Like, what is she doing that? And she's like, she sounds ancient. So he's telling me in the workplace, since this is a frum workplace, what they do is, I'm just telling you what he's telling me. Since this is a frum workplace, what they do is they have two separate places. The boys are on one side and the girls are on the other side. And they said that the workplace, if it wasn't for he said they would put a mechitza, but then all the boys would leave. So they don't put a mechitza. They have like a partial mechitza, that comes like this, but they leave the middle, as opposed to putting something in the middle, you understand, and then you can't see at all, there's zero, you understand? So he's telling me that they would have done that, but they just know all the boys would leave then, That's what he's telling me. You understand what's going on. This is all happening in Eretz Yisrael, right? So that's what's happening by this frum workplace. Okay, now let's get to the point of this story. So he's telling me, so he's a nice boy who's working there. You understand? He worked very hard to be working there. And you'll see about what I'm going to tell what he's just saying this all naturally, understand? I'm going to get to this next point, but I'm understanding that he's just rambling, but he told me that he's sometimes smoking things, and in his rambling he's trying to justify why he's doing that. You understand? So we're going to get to what caused him to start smoking sometimes. You understand? This is what he tells me happens in the workplace. He says that the girls in the workplace, he's a very charismatic person. So if there's anybody that could get a girl, it's him. But these girls, in their mind, they protect themselves from this working boy. They only want someone that's, BMG, brisk, Mir. They want someone learning full time. So these girls, give off this aura that they want absolutely nothing to do with these boys that are working there. Because they know, deep down they know, that if they have anything to do with them, then this brainwash nonsense is going to be pushed out. It'd be like, why am I thinking that it's the end of the world if I marry this nice working guy, this nice person? You understand? He goes to the shir, he listens to shir, however it is, he gives shir, whoever it is that he learns, you understand? But he's a good person. I would have a happy life with him. Not just happy spiritually, but happy financially. If they actually spent a bit of time with them. But because in their mind, Yiddishkeit is marrying someone who's in Kollel, who wants to be in Kollel, who's learning right now in yeshiva full time, who wants to go into Kollel, since to them that is Yiddishkeit, and they don't want to be affected by these boys, these nice boys that are working. What are they working for? They're just working for themselves. They don't care about anybody. No, they're working so that they should be able to support a family, to be able to find a wife that they could support, have kids, and be able to support them as well. That's what he's working. Why do you think he's going to work? He also wants to do things for himself. Absolutely. So, this, this seems to be like a match made in heaven. You understand? Especially this guy. This guy was, he is, any girl that could get him, they would get a prize. He's such a nice, good, happy person. So friendly. And these girls are fighting with every inch of power in their being to give off this aura. Don't even think of approaching me. That's the aura around them. And if you approach, they'll very quickly push you away. If not instantly. They'll look down upon. They won't even speak to you. They'll just give you this dirty look. Get away. You piece of garbage. So, he didn't exactly connect to that. He's like very young, but that's what causes him that sometimes he's smoking these things. Because he's such a nice person. He's such a special person. And, he's very, he's an entertainer. He's he makes people happy and laugh. And these girls, he's in a Jewish place because he understands if you're working, it's good to be in a Jewish place. They have Jewish values. But now that he's working in a Jewish place that has Jewish values, that false ideology affects the workplace. The Jewish workplace. And they start locking away the girls. The girls give you dirty looks. They have this aura that they want nothing to do with you. You're afraid to approach them. He's such negativity. That's That's what he's feeling. This nice young, we're not talking about a 40-year-old that is getting loads of negativity. We're talking about an 18-year-old, a 22-year-old getting such doses every day of negativity. No wonder he's smoking. No wonder those other guys that I spoke to who didn't have 20% of this person's charisma are smoking every day. You have to know you can't work in a Jewish place. Better to work in a completely Goyish place that hopefully has a few Jewish girls there, that now you become a prize as opposed to what's it called? As opposed to a bacteria. You understand? Better to work in a complete Goyish place. Imagine this person, a person year after year going through this. Yiddishkeit, he might feel he's forced because he's afraid of hell. You know, a young person doesn't really feel that, but in a miracle way that he actually feels that way. So he does it physically, but he'll never like Yiddishkeit. And then they'll say, well, that's what the workplace does. Understand? Such bad leaders, such bad people, such false ideologies, such a false ideology, such a destructive false ideology. You just see how it spreads in every area. To every area. The workplace is horrible. Even people that are learning full time to get married, it's horrible. It's so difficult. Staying married, having kids that respect you, everything is horrible. Your grandparents speak up against you. They either say it straight or they imply that, you know, if you're not learning full time, then that's not the real thing. Your parents speak to you, your brothers and sisters, everybody around you, your rabbi, your rebbitzin, your rebbe, yeshiva, chacham, everybody around you is telling you that. And here you are, just a simple Jew. Maybe not so simple. I think you're gold, I think you're silver. But you're a humble person, and you're just saying, I'm just a simple Jew, wanting to learn how to support a family. And I'm getting such disdain from the girls. People are looking at me like I'm a sickness, like I'm a cancer. Like I'm something that they have to distance themselves from. Like I'm a source of COVID. That's how they're looking at me. And they're saying that's what Judaism is. No wonder they go off the derech when they go to work. You force them off the derech. We have to not forget this truth. And we have to completely change our lives. We have to never, ever speak of this full-time learning business. We have to reserve that and say we respect the Rashbi, who was light years above keeping the commandments, that he was able to do something like this, that miracles happen to him on a constant basis, on a daily, hourly basis. I respect the Rashbi for that he's able to do something like this. But we cannot allow this false ideology to come and say, because the Rashbi could do it, therefore I should be doing it. Rather, we should look up at the Rashbi and see his Kedusha and respect him for his level that we can't even understand. It's so high. Rabbi Akiva, he's so high. I need to work with my abilities to maximize me being a good person, a person that cares, a person that keeps the commandments of God. I need to focus on that. I need to learn how to be a good, balanced person. Take care of my family. Care for them. Not say that the wife, everything's upon her. It goes deeper. I know a girl, there are many girls, that this brainwash did not work on them, and they wanted a good, balanced boy. But the parents were trying to push them to marry a learning boy, because to them that's the real Judaism. Because that's what they were taught, that's what real Judaism is. So some girls get pushed into it. A lot of them get divorced. Some of them stay married. There are girls also that they think that this is correct, that full-time learning. They actually think that's correct, and they also get divorced. In both scenarios, a lot of them don't get married until much later. A lot of them get married, never get married. Some of them get married at the last moment, and they could only have maybe one child. That's it. So sad. A Jewish girl, a Jewish boy, they want to have a big family. They don't want to just have one or two children. They should be able to have a lot of children if that's what they want. But they're prevented because of this ideology. So this girl that I know, that the parents were constantly there, today, the mothers are the ones that control, unfortunately. The mother must concede to the husband. The husband must listen to his wife. But he has to know that he has to take the responsibility of a decision. He is very good at making decisions and taking in the information and being able to process everything and come out with a decision. A woman's very good at detecting things. And a husband should want to hear what his wife is detecting, put it all together, come up with a decision. A wife should appreciate her ability to detect and want to tell that to her husband, but she understands that he's good at making decisions. That's what she should want. That's a real marriage. That's Torah marriage. That's a Judaism marriage. Any other marriage is not real. I mean, you can make up your own things. You could call that a marriage, but it's a fake marriage. So this mother is iron. And she keeps on pushing the girl to marry someone that's learning, trying to get her, oh, I have this, I that. To girls that actually want to marry someone that's learning, they're giving such a hard time. But to the girl who doesn't want to marry someone that's learning, all of a sudden all the learning boys get opened up to her. Crazy. That is the system. That is these people. They don't realize it. This whole ideology, it's just to destruction. It's just to hurt and destroy people, to make them hate God, to drain them of everything good. That's what it's there for. But so getting back to this story, so this girl, she was like, no, I want someone that's working. She wasn't picky. I wanted to be making $100,000 a year. No. I understand. We start off the point, things will happen. She trusted God. She was a high level individual. She was a high spiritual person. She was a balanced person. She wasn't this controlling wife. No. That's not what she was looking for. She was looking to be a good wife and looking for a good husband. She wasn't picky, saying, okay, I want someone working, but I want this and this and this and that. She wasn't a bad woman. No, she was a good woman. The parents just, especially the mother, just couldn't, and the mother is the one that's in control, just couldn't give in. And this girl went year after year not getting married. And it came to the point that now she is so broken, she is so hurt, that she said, I can't keep Taras HaMishpacha. And now, listen to this. Now, because of this brokenness and this hurtfulness that she had to endure, and now she just feels she just can't keep Taras HaMishpacha. Because for over 10 years, even more, over 15 years, you've prevented her from having a spouse. Now when she gets a spouse, she wants to spend every minute she can with them. She's dying inside. Especially a woman. She's dying inside for that closeness, for that connection. They physically took out the strength inside of her to keep Taras HaMishpacha. Now when she said she can't keep Taras HaMishpacha, now they turned her into a nebuch to save face. I don't even know if they realize what they did. They're so brainwashed. And now they're like, well, now we can't get her married because she doesn't want to keep Taras HaMishpacha. How could we suggest someone to her? Right? If you don't have Taras HaMishpacha, each time it's kares, it's serious. So now, you understand how this so-called religious world is working? Just horrible. So I actually went to a paisik, a real paisik, not these fake ones, a real one. Not these people that they learned it, but someone who's a tzaddik emes, a real tzaddik, who is a paisik. And I asked him, I said, you have someone who is not yet ready to keep Taras HaMishpacha, or in this scenario, it was completely drained out of her. I'm surprised that that she's keeping Shabbos, you understand? She is keeping Shabbos. I'm surprised she's keeping Shabbos. I'm surprised she's keeping kosher. Just Taras HaMishpacha she can't do, understandably. So I didn't give the details. I just asked, if someone, I just wanted to know the psak in general, because if I say this specific scenario, then I can't apply it to someone else. So I said, in general, if a person is saying they're not going to keep Taras Mishpacha, are you allowed to help them to get married? And he said, absolutely yes. We're not going to get into halachically how that works. But you understand, these people that call themselves religious, and they're saying, because she's not going to keep Taras Mishpacha, therefore now, she's just this complete nebuch. We can't help her. They use God when this has nothing to do with God. God says, you could get her married. In fact, you're supposed to help her to get married. I'm not going to get into all the halachic, how that works. You have to actually be a real Pesach, a real tzaddik emes. Tzaddik emes understands these. He understands how to put together what the Torah says in a true way. Don't listen to psukim of people that are not real tzaddikim. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just babbling nonsense. I asked a real Pesach in Kala Torah Kula, finished Shas many times, finished Shulchan Aruch many times. A real Pesach, the real works. He's someone that really cares about people. I'm talking about a real tzaddik emes. There's only a few people like him in the entire world. And this is what he told me. He told me, not only are you allowed to get them married, but you should actually go and help them to get married. Help them find a shidduch. So I took this information. I don't know. And I went to the grandmother and I went to the daughter. I couldn't say this to the, I didn't have that up. You have to find the right opportunity. I did not yet find the right opportunity to say this to the mother and father. But I did find the opportunity to say it to the grandmother and to her sister. And I told them, halachically, not only are you allowed to help them, you're supposed to help them. And you know what I found out? That the grandmother, she didn't help someone in her family because she said she's used to be not from, and she became from. They were keeping kosher, but she really wasn't from. She learned how to keep the commandments and everything later on in life. So this grandmother decided not to help someone else in the family who did not become from, because she's not going to keep Taras Mishpacha. So she never helped her to get married, and she never got married. And I don't know, she lives with dogs, and I don't know, she lives with animals, for the company, and she's broken. They never helped her to get married because they said. So I told her, that's what came out from this conversation. And I said that not only can you help him, you're supposed to help them to get married. People I don't even think they asked the Pesach. They just decided that on themselves. You always have to ask a real Pesach, especially when you think what needs to be done is going to hurt someone. Especially then, you got to ask. Just think about it. They ruin someone's life. That person knows that you're not helping them to get married. They know that. They're not stupid. They ruined someone's life. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And then they have a granddaughter that ends up that same thing. And they never piece it together. They never say, before I told them that this is wrong, you're supposed to help them. Before I told them, they never pieced it together. That maybe it's because how I treated this person in my family. That's why my granddaughter turned out this way. They never pieced it together. And then they just go on in life as if they did nothing. They go on in life and completely forget what you said an hour later. Shocking. And this is one girl to the next. This grandmother did this to someone in her family, and now her grandchild, who's a daughter, and is doing the same thing. Not keeping Taras HaMishpacha. The first one, she wasn't brought up at Taras HaMishpacha. This one was brought up, but now she left because of all the... She by the second she can get a husband, she wants to grab on and hold him for dear life. And this stupid grandmother, all she could think is about her one son. She has 2 daughters and 1 son. Just this... The learning full time, that's all she could think. The beauty of it. And both her daughters could be getting destroyed. This son that she have, the wife, there isn't that sinking. He didn't marry someone that's really good for him. Yes, they're married. Yes, there's, a certain level of love, you understand. They have many children, yes. But he didn't marry someone that's really good for him. And all the children, they're just living on her money. The next generation, it's going to be tsaras truas, you understand? And all she could think is the beauty of the Kollel life. It's so sad, but it's so pathetic and stupid that it's funny. It's like, how could you be so pathetic and stupid? We have to break out of this. We have to not allow ourselves to be affected by this. These people are poisonous. We have to run from them like the plague. They're sitting and running from us that want to be balanced, girls that want to have a good boy who's spiritual and he works on his good character trait. The boys want to be balanced. They want to be spiritual. They want to be able to take care of their family. Work on their character trait. They want to do that, and they're being looked at like they're the plague. We have to reverse it. We have to know that these people are the plague. We are the antibodies. We're the sense of normalcy, the sense of truth. The messengers of God. Just the fact that we're balanced, good people, the fact that we're making money and that we're not in debt just shows the falsehood. And that's why they fight so hard against you. And every shir is talking about how learning full time is the tachlis. The Torah doesn't say learning full time is the tachlis. The Torah says that for a boy, he needs to take out every moment, every extra moment to learn. It doesn't say that learning full time is the tachlis. It's there's a din in the Gemara. It's called Dai Leva Min Adin Lias Kenidan, that you never, when Hashem says something, you take it from what he said and below. You never add. So the level of importance is exactly the way Hashem positioned it. That and lower. Never do you assume more. And Hashem said that you're supposed to take every moment that you can to learn. That's the chiyuv of Talmud Torah. But why does it? So they sit and take that and they start saying Rashbi or Bekiva, and they start saying that's what you should be doing all the time. It's not what it says. It says you should take every moment that you can. Why is Hashem saying take every moment that you can? Because it's obvious that life has 100 aspects to it, and you have to balance all of them. And therefore, the Torah cannot be full-time. It will only be part of those 100 things that you need to do. But at that same time, at that same moment, Torah is the source of all goodness. It's the source of everything. So therefore, when you have extra time, the Torah says, put it towards Torah. Because it's the source of everything. Its greatness has everything in it. So, of course, you need to be able to support your family. Of course, you have to work on your character trait. Of course, you have to spend time with your wife. You have to love your wife. Of course, you have to spend time with your kids. You have to love your kids. Of course, you have to help people. Absolutely. But don't put yourself in a situation that now you're not learning. Now, those extra times, all those extra times are taken away and you're doing something else. Make sure that the focus is that when it comes to extra times, is to learn. Now, of course, those extra times, a lot of it, you'll need to do other things. Absolutely. But it should be a focus in your mind that you should use it to learn. And of course, part of the balance is every day having a time in the daytime and in the nighttime, that you learn. Absolutely. And the main focus, the first thing when it comes to learning, is learning halacha. You got to know the commandments. You can learn all the Gemara you want, but if you don't know halachically what I'm supposed to do, then you can't keep the Torah. It's funny how the system fights against halacha. It's not focusing that people should get klar the Hilchas Shabbos. Rather, it's to get klar learning bi'iyun, coming out with nothing, meaning nothing compared to the awesome and great responsibility of keeping the mitzvahs. To sit and say the focus is on Ian to such an extent that people don't have Hilchas Shabbos klar, that people don't have Hilchas Lashon Hara klar, people don't have Hilchas Yom Tov klar, Hilchas Tisha B'Av, all the halachas that a person needs throughout the year, that they don't have that after so many years in being in yeshiva and being in Jewish schools, in a frum Jewish school. And rather we think that they're just going to have it through osmosis. Such a nonsense. The frumest schools, the boys and girls come out and they're lacking in knowing many, many laws of the Torah. Many laws from God. Not just their abundance. Many laws from God himself. Because they said, Ian. Not only do they corrupt the preciousness, the importance that the Torah gives to balance, how that is the truth, but even this false ideology that they give, in that they don't even do the right thing. They start saying Ian, Pilpul, and not that the first thing is halacha l'maisa. We have to run away from these things like the plague. We can't allow ourselves to live in this falsehood. It's going to destroy us, destroy our marriages, destroy our kids, destroy our lineage. Going back generations. They're going to break our link, our chain, going back to Matan Torah. Children go off the derech. They get lost amongst the game. They broke your chain. How could you take that risk? We have to start having Jewish pride. Stop being brainless animals, brainless sheep. You have to be a hero in this stride. So much to say. I'm just hoping people are getting the right point and we're realizing the importance of true MS. And we have to be willing to do everything to find true MS, to go after true MS, to live in a community of true MS, to completely push away these people that are filled with this falsehood. And we want the best for them. We wish that they could understand this. And maybe if they had the inner courage to actually listen, then they would also change. But right now they're not. And they're a toxic. They're a poison. When I'm around them, I forget the truth. I forget about caring about my kids, about my grandkids. The Shita becomes God. I don't care about my grandkids. I don't care about my cousin that can't get married. I don't care. I sit on my rocking chair, rocking back and forth, and I don't care. Horrible, despicable human beings. We have to realize it. And, of course, I wish the best for them. I wish that they could see the truth. I wish. And they should feel your love, how you want the best for them. But just like you can't have your young child hanging around someone who's a good person, but just doesn't keep the commandments. You can't have them hanging around such a person. The same way we can't have them hanging around someone who's keeping Shabbos, keeping Kashrus, keeping Taras HaMishpacha, but has an ideology that's poison. My child can't be around them as well. And not only that, I can't be around them. Because I see it affects me. Me as an adult, I see it affects me. Of course, you have to do things, it has to be done. So you must do it 100%. You must really do what needs to be done. but at the same time do it in the nicest. You must do what needs to be done, but you don't have to do it in a mean way. You could do it in the nicest way possible. There's an action that needs to happen, and that action needs to happen, but you could do it in the worst way, in the medium way, or in the nicest way, still accomplishing your goal, but you could do it in the nicest way. If you do it in the nicest way, you have to try to let them know how they could find the truth. You understand? Hopefully they do, and then you could bring them back into the fold. But this ideology is so toxic. It's caused such destruction. The future destruction, what it already caused, is unimaginable. What it's going to cause in the future, if it continues, is the complete destruction of Klal Yisrael. If it wasn't that God promised that Klal Yisrael would never be destroyed, if it wasn't for that promise, this ideology would have already destroyed Judaism. If not already, almost. We have to pick up arms to remember that this is a war. You have to stop thinking that it's just an argument. No, this is war. When someone is doing something that will destroy you, destroy your marriage, destroy your kids, destroy Judaism, they're in war with God. This is a war. You have to hold some type of weapon on you. And that weapon is never to be used, but it's there to show you the importance of how you have to get out of this falsehood. Of course, whatever the weapon, of course, in a legal way. But you have it there. It's there to show you the importance of truth, of real truth, of caring for yourself, caring for your spouse, caring for your kids, caring for Judaism, caring for Hashem. We just need to just listen over to it again and again and again, so we don't forget. It's so easy to forget. It's so easy. We can't forget. It's a huge danger to forget. We have to look at it that this is like fire trying to burn and destroy us and my lineage, to destroy my marriage, to destroy me, that I'm never going to get married, to destroy when I get married that it shouldn't work out, to destroy my kids, that they shouldn't respect me, and that they'll just leave Yiddishkeit because of all the craziness, when this has nothing to do with Judaism. This is people's own ideas. They're saying that the level of a makubal from like 1,000 years ago is what you're supposed to be. It's absolutely, he is light years above the commandments. He's light years. We're happy if we get a few levels above the commandments. These people are light years. We have accomplished endlessly if we could just get 1% of 1% of their level. But you know You know, the truth is, if you realize this and you go with this truth, that you have actually accomplished so much more because you respect them. You understand that the Rashbi is the Rashbi, and I'm nothing to him, nothing compared to him. That we have great tzaddikim in the past and in the near past. I'm nothing compared to them. I respect them. I don't think in any way that I'm close buddies with them. And you know what's going to happen when you go up to Shemayim? That you are this balanced person. You respect Talmidei Chachamim. Not that you say it, but you actually realize the Rashbi is light years above me. And I have to focus on what God told me. Not what the Rashbi was talking to God, what their conversation was and what they do. You understand? What God tells me, that's the Torah. That's what he gave to each one of us. Respecting that. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rashbi came to you and said you were one of the few Jews in your generation that actually, truly respected me. And I want to tell you that in Shemayim, the respect that they have for you for doing that is so big. I love you, and Hashem loves you more.